really have to get involved in all these histrionics. He can afford to cruise on and take something like third or fourth place. A rostrum finish would be nice for him, but he could settle for fourth without too much of trouble. Marshall, Blower and Julian Westwood closing in. Julian Westwood definitely setting his sights now on Colin Blower, a fact of which Colin Blower will not be entirely unaware. In fact, he could hardly ignore it now. Westwood about to mount the boot of the TVR ahead of him. Well, it's all very different, remember, making the transition from an open-wheel Formula car to a sports car like the TVR. Oh, and there goes Westwood through on the inside. Well, he seems to have made the transition without too much difficulty, and he's now chasing after Jerry Marshall. He hasn't got the sight of the four corners of the car that he would have in Formula 3000 to enable him to place it, but that doesn't seem to have been a problem, and he seems to be judging distances by using the door handle against other people on the racetrack. So Jerry Marshall now actually under attack from Julian Westwood. Now remember that Julian Westwood in the celebrity car can't score points. Jerry Marshall could let him go, but he's already acknowledging, at least I think he's acknowledging Julian Westwood's presence there, or perhaps it was the checkered flag. Hard to tell with Jerry Marshall sometimes, but look what that's done for him, lifted him clear of that third equals position. He's now by himself in third place, but still a long way to go to catch up Steve Cole. He can't achieve that here at Mondello Park, but he may well get closer still, because Steve Cole has had unhappy times at Mondello in practice and qualifying. Away we go off the line, riding now with Bob Sands in the Harrogate Horseless Carriages entry, at least one of them. Round the outside of this right-hander, and a very busy start, as you can see. Jerry Marshall, the man in front of Colin Blower, and behind him comes 27, John Kent. Oh, and there's all kinds of mayhem going on there. The Shell Celebrity car involved in that, and Simon Wayne also involved with it. Red flags out, so it's a restart at Mondello Park, the first time it's happened in this series. And that looks like a fluffed start for Jerry Marshall. He's got a problem, hands up, and the whole grid coming to a halt behind him, finding their way past. Jerry Marshall still waving his arms in the air, and some confusion on the start line there with the start sequence of lights, which went from red to green and back to red again. Jerry Marshall very properly stayed where he was, red flags out, and the whole thing to do all over again. So the third start at Mondello Park in what is a two-part race, so there will be one more start procedure to go through at least. Marshall away from the start line here. Pole position man now in the lead. Behind him, number 7, is Colin Blower. Jimmy McRae, Steve Cole, Bob Sands. Marshall making the break now. Blower behind him. Now Steve Cole standing up well to this at the moment. As we said, he's not had a happy practice and qualifying session here. Lots and lots of engine troubles and engine swaps, but everything seems to be in order now as he challenges John Kent a little bit sideways, Steve Cole a little bit sideways. They stay in place. Marshall from Blower. Here comes Kent, here comes Steve Cole. Well, Steve Cole not really under attack in the championship, and again could afford just to cruise round and settle for something like third or fourth place. Jerry Marshall, though, is the man to watch. Now we're at round 10 of this series. There are 13 rounds in the championships, and the driver has to drop his 2 worst scores. For Steve Cole, oh, and Jerry Marshall is celebrating a flag. Jerry Marshall is going to take the checkered flag. You can tell that without seeing it drop. Steve Cole really just needs a few more points to protect himself against anything that Jerry Marshall can do. Having started the season in the celebrity car, Jerry Marshall can drop 2 0 scores, so in actual fact he doesn't have to drop anything. Steve Cole will have to drop a couple of points at the end of the year. And more mayhem in turn 1 in the second part of this race. Number 12, there he is on the grass again, our TVR engineer. Marshall from Blower, and then John Kent. Steve Cole, more engine troubles. On board with John Kent, looking ahead towards the tail end of Colin Blower, and ahead of that Jerry Marshall. And Jerry Marshall dominating this second part of the race as he dominated the first, and looking for maximum points, although Colin Blower perhaps has other ideas now. Colin Blower looking for a way past Jerry Marshall. Not entirely certain that he's going to find a way past Jerry Marshall, and Steve Cole appears to be in difficulty yet again. Well, this has been a very unhappy weekend for him, and look at that. He has to put his arms out to tell the drivers behind he's got a problem, but you could see in that gesture just how exasperated he was. Jerry Marshall across the line takes the full points away from Mondello Park, and that really does change the championship and liven it up quite a bit. Jerry Marshall now in second place is just over 20 points behind Steve Cole, and Steve Cole really did need to get some points here in Ireland and just didn't quite pull it off. That makes this race, round 11 at Silverstone, quite important for Steve Cole and Jerry Marshall. The grid forms up in the sunshine. Jerry Marshall again on pole position, 2 rows behind him. You can see Steve Cole getting away to a reasonably good start, but it's Marshall who streaks off into the distance. He's followed now by the Shell Celebrity Car #1, driven here at Silverstone by Derek Higgins, sometime Formula Fordster, sometime Formula 3, and also the man who was hoping to contest the Formula 3000 series in 1991, but somehow or other that didn't really come off. Higgins, though, a driver of no mean abilities, as you can see, pushes his way past Jerry Marshall on the inside. Derek Higgins now leads this race. Remember that he's not registered for the championship, cannot score points in the celebrity car, and it cannot alter the outcome of the championship at the end of the year. Nothing Derek Higgins can do can change whether or not Jerry Marshall or Steve Cole wins the title. There goes number 12 again, backwards out of the race. That's John Reed. We're looking at it on board with Simon Wayne. Higgins in the lead. Jerry Marshall content to let him go. From his position there, Jerry Marshall can score maximum points here at round 11. That would make it his 5th consecutive outing for maximum points and his 7th win of the series. Depending on what happens to Steve Cole, it might also put him within striking distance of the championship. Steve Cole would have to go out of this round and score no points for Marshall to close the gap to under 5. And that is number 40, Mick Hyde, going for a little spin and scattering some gravel as well and rejoining. Jerry Marshall starting to make a clattering noise. Did I hear some rumbling noises from underneath the bonnet of his TVR Tuscan? Or was it Higgins? It was Higgins. Look at that cloud of smoke. Well, there's the answer. We had Jerry Marshall in the frame and there was a clattering noise, but it was coming from Derek Higgins' car. And there goes Bob Sands again. Well, he's making a bit of a habit of this, is Bob Sands. Holds it all together and rejoins the race. Might have done that on Derek Higgins' oil because it was about there that we heard the noises. So that might not be entirely Bob Sands' fault. And he definitely did that on Derek Higgins' oil because we could see it in the sunlight. And that is the worst damage I think I've seen to a car in this series all season long. Jerry Marshall, meanwhile, heads towards the checkered flag at Silverstone at round 11 to pick up maximum points yet again. 20 points plus the extra point for fastest lap gives him 21 from here, and look how close the championship is getting. Steve Cole picked up points as well though, so it's not as close as it might have been, but Jerry Marshall has 2 rounds left to go and might still sneak the title from Steve Cole. Round 12 of the championship takes us to Cadwell Park. Our onboard camera here travels with Tiffany Dell, who this time round is also equipped with onboard sound for race commentary from the cockpit, which could liven up the proceedings no end. As you can see, Jerry Marshall not at the front of this grid.
Now that's what you're not allowed to do. John Kent there taking up his position. That's not legal, but he's done it.
Chris Hodgetts, number 15, on pole position. Tiffany Dell getting a good start.
There's a lot of hitting going on there up ahead. Some fairly vicious start procedures. But we've managed to get through the first corner and up to 5th. Can we get better than that?